every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nena Nyama. In our major stories this evening, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the sack of the chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Secondary Education Board, and the Universal Basic Education Boards. Also in this program, Labour activists today embarked on a joint rally round major roads in the nation's capital to show solidarity for the anti-corruption stance of President Muhammadu Buhari. The world marks International World Suicide Prevention Day, September 10, in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicides. And outside Nigeria, Russia has confirmed that the country's humanitarian flights to Syria carry military equipment as well as humanitarian aid. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. On our first story, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the sack of the chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Secondary Education Board, and the Universal Basic Education Boards. An indication to this was contained in a letter sent to the FCT Permanent Secretary, John Chukwu, by the Secretary to the federal government. The SGF noted that the federal government's directive on the dissolution of governing boards of all government parastatals and agencies also apply to the boards of the FCT agencies. The Permanent Secretary has consequently directed the former chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue to hand over all duties and responsibilities of his office, as well as government belongings in his possession, to the Director of Treasury FCT. He also mandated the chairman of the Secondary Education Board and Universal Basic Education Board to hand over all duties and responsibilities of the offices as well as government property to the directors, secretaries of the boards. President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with the family of retired Commissioner of Police Ibrahim Babankowa, who died recently. In a statement by his Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garuba Shehu, the President said the former Commissioner of Police will be long remembered for the role he played in crashing the May 13 uprising of 1980 and his discovery of the body of Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa after the January 15, 1966 coup d'etat. The president, who had a long and close association with Babankowa, said the deceased will remain a model of integrity and steadfastness to all who knew him. President Buhari also extended his personal condolences to the family of the celebrated farmer and bookseller Jibrin Ahmed, who also died recently. The president prayed that Almighty Allah will grant Babankowa and Ahmed eternal rest and comfort the grieving families and friends. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has advocated a permanent membership status for Nigeria in the Security Council of the United Nations, stating that the country deserves it because of its contribution to international peacekeeping, the size of its population and economy. Delivering a keynote address at the African launch of the Global Commission report, Osinbajo said Nigeria fully shares the views expressed in the report that the United Nations Security Council should be expanded, including the call in the report for restraint on the use of veto by the 5 permanent members of the Council. The Vice President is of the view that since Africa is the only continent without a permanent seat in the UN Security Council, Nigeria has the strongest profile to represent Africa and therefore balance the membership composition of the Council. Labour activists today embarked on a joint rally round major roads in the nation's capital to show solidarity for the anti-corruption stance of President Muhammadu Buhari. The peaceful rally, which started from the Unity Fountain, saw the activists visiting the EFCC headquarters before moving to the National Assembly complex and the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The group was received at every point by top officials of the various institutions and establishments. Basi Aye now reports.
As early as 7 a.m., they had gathered at the Unity Fountain, which was the rendezvous point. Among them are past and serving leaders of the labor union. Some had on the colors of the various affiliate unions, while others chose the traditional red beam of organized labor. And just before they set out, the NLC president and others were on hand for some pep talk.
This is a struggle for a new Nigeria. This is a struggle for good governance. And this is a struggle against corruption. We are here because our laws are very weak. Corrupt officials, if you steal even 100 billion, at most you only get 2 years of jail, or you fight with only a fraction of what you have stolen. And you'll be allowed to go and continue to enjoy your ill-gotten wealth. No more. We have seen this in the case of Atiku Kigo, who stole 32 billion of Nigerian pension funds, and what he got was 2 years imprisonment or 750,000 naira fine. Is that what we want?
This rally is one of those rallies to strengthen those institutions and to fight corruption. You know, corruption is endemic and it needs to be killed. And just like the president said, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. All the sectors of this country are suffering because of corruption. And for me, in the National Assembly, I feel that those institutions, my primary aim and the National Assembly primary aim now should be laws should be reviewed to the extent that those institutions will be strengthened.
We don't want a neoliberal policy through the back door that has actually led to more and more corruption in our country. We want people-centered development program that will raise the standard of living of Nigerian people, that will make all our social services, education, health, everything to work.
Then it was time to visit the EFCC, where the chairman of the anti-graft agency played host to the group.
I want to assure you that with this our hands have been straightened, and we will do our best not to disappoint you. We will continue to do what we are doing, and we shall go home and be very comfortable that the Nigerian Labour Congress and all the affiliate unions are solidly behind us. I think this is the time for all Nigerians to speak with one voice. Yes. Corruption has continued to slow down the pace of the corruption of our country. We cannot afford to do that.
Next port of call was the National Assembly and the SGF's office, where some of the participants could be seen climbing over the gate at the main entrance. Inside the complex, letters were presented to representatives of the Speaker and Senate President.
Just like the executive arm of government has come up with an articulated policy against corruption, for instance, it has set up a committee under Comrade Professor Ise Sage to recommend ways of fast-tracking the anti-corruption fight. House of Representatives has not only noted this patriotic initiative, but we are also coming up with a coordinated approach to reinforce what the executive arm of government is doing and to answer to the clarion call and demand of Nigerian workers and Nigerian people generally.
The peaceful solidarity march may have been concluded, but many Nigerians are of the view that enough words have been spoken already, and the time for action is now. Basi Aye, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Moving on to Kwara State, the Nigeria Labour Congress and its counterpart Trade Union Congress, Kwara State Branch, organized a peaceful rally in support of the anti-corruption crusade by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Solidarity Rally cut through Ilorin Metropolis and terminated at the State Government House to register their support for the campaign against corruption by the President Muhammadu Buhari. Rashid has more.
The Kwara State chapter of Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress marched in a solidarity rally for the government of Muhammadu Buhari, in a march which was felt in the Ilorin Metropolis before terminating at the government house. Receiving the letter on behalf of the Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed, the State Head of Service, Haji Zamar Umar, appreciates the good gesture of the workers towards the APC-led federal government and by extension the Kwara State government, led by Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed. He solicits more support and cooperation from the unions while promising to deliver the message to the President.
Relationship we've been enjoying since 2003 to date. We have never had a cause to disagree, and even if we disagree to agree. So I want to appreciate you for that, and I want to assure you that the government is not sleeping on its ears. Your problems that have been laid on its table, we are going to look into it with dispatch. And very soon, all of us will have smiles on our faces. I want to assure you that the letter I am receiving on behalf of the governor will be delivered to him for onward delivery to the president.
The union's leadership expressed their satisfaction with President Muhammadu Buhari on his mission to curb corruption and provision of solid foundation for a working country.
Yeah, the message is simple. In as much as it's a known fact that the president, General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, is trying to sanitize the economy by introducing anti-corruption mechanism. The leadership of the labor unions, the NLC and the TUC, have deemed it compulsory that we support him in this quest. And by so doing, we have a mandate to organize this rally with our people so that we show our support to Mr. President that we are against corruption. We stand to be against corruption in the economy because we realize that the economy has been so vigorous with the issue of corruption. So the only way this can be curbed is to help the president in his support.
The unions, however, advise the president to continue the fight against corruption in order to have a sustainable democracy. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ilorin.
Still on the anti-graft war, labor activists in Taraba State also joined their counterparts across the country to declare war against corruption. The State Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress made its intention known by staging a rally in support of President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption campaign.
Receiving the labour workers at the government house, the Deputy Governor Haruna Manu said the administration is also in support of the fight against corruption. He assured the activists of the state government's readiness to synergize with them to curb corruption.
We want to assure you that we stand by Mr. President, we'll continue to support him. And just because of that, when we came in, one of the first things this administration did was to set up a committee to re-verify the civil servants so that we can flush out those that ought to have retired or those that retired but still their names are in the payroll. It is one of the process.
NLC Chairman Peter Gambo said Labour will continue to support the current leadership in its fight against corruption. He is convinced that non-payment of workers' salaries is a fallout of corrupt practices by some state governors, unfair treatment of Nigerian workers and an unrealistic minimum wage. This, the NLC chairman said, has led many workers to live in penury and suffer untold hardships.
If you are a civil servant, you must fight corruption in your life. If you are a governor, You are the one heading the whole team in Taraba State. And anywhere you find yourself, be objective and fight corruption. We all elected our leaders with a high level of trust. We elected our leaders with loaded hope that they will bring development to us. That has been a thing in the campaign movement. Yes. We believe they will live to their campaign promises. Yes.
He added that corruption in Nigeria takes many forms, ranging from embezzlement and bribery to rigging of election, among others. Some of the workers said corruption had affected all the sectors and should be treated with utmost urgency.
We call on the government to maintain its anti-corruption stand and its stand for good governance, to give us good leadership, to develop our country for us. That's our call to both the state and federal governments.
Corruption, we know, is what is killing Nigeria. So we are in support of the fight against corruption. That is why we are all out here to support the federal government.
If we do not keep corruption, my sister, corruption will kill Nigeria. That is the plain truth about it.
According to the workers, the belief is for Nigerians to stand in unison and fight this evil called corruption. Edward Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
We'll take a break now. We'll return with more stories. To stay with us.
Some pundits believe that as long as the political system is driven by selected few, corruption may be difficult to fight.
You should be careful about what you say.
I am not the only politician. Even if I've wronged anyone, it is time to forgive me.
Please for Arena every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. and a repeat broadcast every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to our husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
If you just joined us, you're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. A reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the sack of the chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Secondary Education Board, and the Universal Basic Education. Labour activists today embarked on a joint rally round major routes in the nation's capital to show solidarity for the anti-corruption stance of President Muhammadu Buhari. The world marks International World Suicide Prevention Day, September 10, in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicides. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has urged members of various labor unions in the state to support the anti-corruption crusade of President Muhammadu Buhari. The governor, who was represented by the Secretary to the state's government, Mr. Tunji Bello, received the activists who were on a peaceful rally at the Lagos House, Alausa. He commended the labor unions consisting members of the Trade Union Congress, National Labor Congress, National Youth Council, and the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights for the decision to show solidarity with President Buhari's quest to stem corruption. The state chairman of the TUC, Comrade Akim Kazim, disclosed that a nationwide rally was taken up to throw their full weight behind President Buhari's anti-corruption campaign. The people of Kogi West Senatorial District have handed down a 30-day ultimatum to the state government to address lopsided appointment at the Kogi State University or be prepared for a civil disobedience. They specifically concerned that nobody from the district is among 4 academics being considered for the position of the Vice-Chancellor in spite of having the highest number of professors in the state. Senator Dino Melayi made the position of the senatorial district known at a news conference in Abuja. A federal high sitting in Lagos has remanded Taofeek Aderogba and Biodun Ilesanmi in prison custody till the 25th of September 2015 for allegedly obstructing federal task force on fake drugs and unwholesome processed food at Alaba Market in Mile 12 area of the state. The accused persons were arraigned on 2-count charges of obstructing officers of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control in the course of their duties. The court, presided over by Justice Muhammad Yunusa, added the accused Taofeek Aderogba and Biodun Ilesanmi to
the Taofeek, when we were about applying for the charge to be read to him for the purpose of taking his plea, he now informed the court he doesn't understand the language of the court, which is English. So, and the plea of the accused was not taken because of lack of an interpreter. So the court has ordered that an interpreter should be secured to interpret the charges to the accused. We have taken 22nd day of September 2015 for the formal arraignment of Taofeek. In the case of Biodun, he understands the language of the court, and the charge was read to him, which he pleaded guilty. And we have taken 16th of September 2015 for the bail application.
Well, what really happened was that the accused person said he doesn't understand the language of the court, which is English language. And according to the Constitution, the charge has to be understood by the accused person. And since he cannot speak the language of, or he doesn't understand the language of the court has to get an interpreter for him, and which is not readily available in court now. And the court has no other option than to adjourn the matter so that the court registrar can arrange for an interpreter by the next adjourned date, so we can have the proper arraignment in court.
International World Suicide Prevention Day is marked yearly on September 10 in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicides. The theme for this year is Preventing Suicide, Reaching Out and Saving Lives. CoreTV's correspondent Netu Ilabari takes a look at suicide prevention efforts in Nigeria. Her report is presented from our studios.
When an individual, for whatever motive, takes his or her life, suicide is said to have been committed. President of International Association for Suicide Prevention, Ella Arensman, noted that offering support, showing care and concern to someone who may be vulnerable to suicide is a game changer in combating suicide. How relevant is this campaign to Nigerians?
The first answer that comes to my mind is frustration. Maybe probably people are frustrated, people have tried a whole lot of stuffs, and you know they are tired of living. And then the person just thinks that the next thing to do is to commit suicide. But I think there is also something that backs it up, in the sense that it's hard for you to see a normal human being to say he or she wants to actually die.
I think it's a loss. It's generally a loss of hope. People just switch off, and they think there's no other way out apart from the situation they are into at that moment. And if we have hope, I don't think there's any reason why anybody would say I want to kill myself.
Because of hard time, because of the system is no longer working, you know. So that is it. It's not that somebody would like to commit suicide, but when you cannot be able to take care of your family or pay for your house rent or other needs, so that's why people commit suicide.
Isolation is linked to suicidal tendencies, but communal support can be of great help.
When they start sensing that people are becoming preoccupied with thoughts of death or committing suicide or feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, that is the time. They shouldn't wait until something drastic happens. They should find a way to help these people access treatment.
Nigerians are thought to be some of the happiest on earth, but issues of this nature should still be given adequate attention to check likely suicide tendencies in Nigeria.
We'll take another break now. We're back with more stories on business, foreign and sports. Just stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, our 24-hour news station.
Is it crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, trading looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face. They don't put words into my mouth. Whatever it is that will bring our military to disrepute, I said to hell.
On Core Digest,
I want to know why I should be believing them.
Every weekday, we bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has a right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge.
Glad to have you back in business. The Consumer Protection Council, CPC, has deferred the resumption of its investigation into the activities of the digital satellite television, DSTV, earlier scheduled for today, September 10. The decision to adjourn the sitting was based on a request by MultiChoice Nigeria Limited to have legal representation at the sitting. The council said in a statement that an 8-man team led by the paid TV outfit's managing director, John Ugbe, had today arrived at the CPC headquarters in Abuja, where the resumed hearing was scheduled and demanded to appear as a group before the panel. The leader of the investigative panel, who is also the council's director of legal services, Emmanuel Atuguba, declined the move and insisted that the FSS appear one after the other. It was on this basis that MultiChoice requested that its FSS have legal representation. The panel acceded to the request and pointed out that a new date for the continuation of the hearing into the alleged consumer abuses against the company will be communicated to it soon. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry LCCI says there will be a further crash in crude oil price, currently trending at a 6-year low of $40 per barrel. Addressing journalists at a press conference in Lagos, LCCI's president, Remi Bello, warned that a crash of oil prices may further heighten the physical challenges being experienced in the country. He disclosed that Nigeria's real gross domestic product, GDP, fell to 2.35% in the second quarter of 2015, compared to 6.54% in the same period last year. The LCCI board, however, advised that the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN's foreign exchange policy should be reviewed urgently to encourage the inflow of autonomous funds into the foreign exchange markets. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture is set to introduce the National Agricultural Payment Initiative, NAPI, as a boost to the e-wallet system of fertilizer allocation and distribution in the country. Bauchi State Director in the ministry, Mohammed Yusuf, attributed the non-implementation of the e-wallet system to change of administration at the central level and outstanding payments of agro dealers. He disclosed that a new program would help capture biometrical data of all farmers. The director further noted the successes recorded and errors noticed during the last e-wallet system will be fused into the new program. The Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, says it will soon delist 50,000 companies for failing to file their annual returns. The Registrar General of the CAC, Bello Mahmoud, who disclosed this to journalists in Abuja, said the defaulters will be delisted after due notification through different channels of communication as prescribed by the law. He disclosed that 623,659 out of a total of over 1.2 million registered companies in the country have not filed a single return since their registration. The Registrar General noted that the Commission does not delight in deregistering companies, disclosing that it has come up with a number of measures to ensure compliance, including enlightenment campaigns and engagement of revenue agents to advise erring companies. And now to the foreign scene. Russia has confirmed that the country's humanitarian flights to Syria carry military equipment as well as humanitarian aid. The country's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, disclosed this today while addressing journalists in Moscow. This development comes in spite of the warning by US and NATO over Moscow's involvement in the Syrian conflict. It had earlier been revealed that Moscow's advanced BTR-8 2A armored personnel carriers were among arms supplied to Damascus, but Moscow had previously insisted that its flights to Syria were only for humanitarian purposes. Still on the foreign scene, tens of people have been killed during a Turkish military operation in the southeastern town of Ziri since a curfew was enforced a week ago. Turkish Interior Minister Selami Altinok said today that at least 30 Kurdish fighters and one civilian had been killed in the clashes since last Friday. The pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party, however, disclosed that 21 civilians had died over the same period. Altinok said the curfew, which is now in its 7th day, will be continued as long as required and insisted it was in line with the law. Military helicopters have begun rescuing residents from the top floors of their homes after raging flood waters poured in and inundated a wide swath of the city north of Tokyo. The rain came on the heels of Tropical Storm Etwa, which caused similar flooding and landslides as it crossed central Japan. An official of the Japanese Red Cross, Yuko Yoshida, disclosed today that the exact number of those in need of emergency rescue is unknown because many people had been evacuated before the rains came in. Yoshida disclosed that the government has managed the situation well, adding the medical facilities are in operation. Archaeologists in South Africa have announced the discovery of a new human species, a find they say could change our understanding of ancestors. Researchers at Witwatersrand University said the species, which they named Homo naledi, appeared to have intentionally buried its dead in graves, a feature that was once thought to be limited to modern humans. The scientists at WIT say they have recovered parts belonging to at least 15 individuals of the same species. The remains were found in a cave known as Rising Star in the cradle of humankind, about 50 kilometers northwest of the South African city of Johannesburg. The fossils, which included those of children, adults and elderly members of the species, were found in a room deep underground the cave network. And now to sports. Super Eagles stand-in captain Ahmed Musa says Nigeria should expect a much improved performance from the team in the next 2017 African qualifier against Egypt in March. Nigeria will first welcome the Pharaohs between March 23 and 26 before traveling to Cairo between March 26 and 29. Musa, who opened scoring for the Eagles from the penalty spot in a 2-0 win over MENA of Niger on Tuesday in Port Harcourt, said the new team coach Sandro Lise will strike a better understanding before the double-header against Egypt. Team Nigeria today clinched a gold medal in the cycling event at the ongoing 11th All-African Games in Congo-Brazzaville. The gold medal was won by Team Nigeria women's cycling team in the women's time trial event as the cycling event got underway at the conference center in Masamba. Nigerian quartet of Gloria Odiase, Gripa Tombrapa, Happiness Okafor and Rosemary Markers finished the 25-kilometer race in a time of 37.11 seconds against Team South Africa's time of 37.15 seconds to clinch the gold medal. Today's gold medal brings to 3 the number of gold medals Team Nigeria have won at the All-African Games. In the men's category, Team Nigeria's quartet of Eyo Effiong, Ajibade Quadri, Innocent Emmanuel and Calix Izebe finished a distant ninth. And to foreign sports, Real Madrid and Portugal forward Cristiano Ronaldo says he's fulfilling a childhood dream by releasing his legacy upon the world, starring in a glossy advertisement for the scent. He launched his first foray into the world of fragrance, a scent entitled Cristiano Ronaldo Legacy. He said it's a fragrance that leaves a mark, which is why it bears his name. Ronaldo has filmed a short advertisement which can give no clue towards what the perfume actually smells like, so settles instead for asking questions like, why not get yourself one or two different jackets? Presumably, you have to buy his legacy to find out. And that's it on the news, but before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Muhammadu Buhari has approved the sack of the chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Secondary Education Board and the Universal Basic Education Board. Also, Labour activists today embarked on a joint rally round major routes in the nation's capital to show solidarity for the anti-corruption stance of President Muhammadu Buhari. The world marks International World Suicide Prevention Day, September 10, in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicides. And that's it on the news. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nena Nyama. Do have a lovely night rest.